So the results are in. I have surveyed 102 insurance agents, or at least I should say former insurance agents, on why they quit selling insurance. And the results are going to possibly surprise you. My name is David Duford, where I coach, train, and recruit insurance agents to sell final expense, Medicare, and annuities across the nation. Thanks for watching. So the purpose of today's video is to really go do a deep dive into asking real-life former insurance agents why they quit the business. You know, there's a lot of fear to a lot of agents that they have coming into this, that there is a high risk of failure, and that fear is warranted. Nobody really knows for sure, but somewhere between 90 and 95% of agents quit in their first year. At least that's what the statistics say. And the reason I'm doing this study is to find out why. That's always been a major question I've wondered, as well as many others, considering getting into this business. So what we're going to do today is go through a series of questions as to why agents failed. Again, I surveyed 102 agents across different insurance specialties, as you'll see in a minute. We're going to do a breakdown of why they quit, at what point they quit, what contributing factors they thought caused them to quit, and then lastly, we'll review a lot of different firsthand comments from these exact agents as explaining why the reasons were that they quit, and then I'll give you some analysis throughout the process. I think it'll become clear why agents quit, and then in return, more importantly, what you can do to prevent the same thing happening to you. So again, to show you the stats from the survey itself on who actually completed this, you can see that 51% of all people responding sold final expense as their primary product, with mortgage protection, annuities, and Medicare taking up approximately 20% or so. And then 31%, 31.4% exactly, sold some other kind of product as a primary product. The reason I bring this up is I think it's important that you know, if you're not familiar with my work, that a lot of my agents focus in the senior market, specifically the final expense market. So I wanted to make it clear that a lot of the input that I was getting for this survey was most likely from a final expense background type of former agent. And as you can see, that clearly bared out in the results. Another question I wanted to ask was, how long did the insurance agent actually sell insurance before deciding that quitting was the final answer and they should end their career? So I suspected, kind of interestingly, that the vast majority of agents actually would have quit within the first 3 months, maybe 6 months, but that actually didn't bear out according to the results that we see on screen. So as you can see, only 11% of those who started to sell insurance quit within the first 3 months, with another 20% approximately quitting within the first 6 months, or 3 to 6 months. And then within this first 7 to 12 months, quitting at about 1 out of 8 or so. And then the remainder, about a little more than half, quitting sometime after their first year in the business, with 30% approximately quitting between years 1 and 5, and about 1 out of 5 quitting between or after a 5-year mark. So I found this pretty interesting. I figured that most of the people responding to this that had quit the business would have quit out sometime early on. But it looks to me like agents are in the business on some level a lot longer than maybe we think. Maybe they don't quit insurance per se, but they quit their agency and still are in it, but maybe not as much as they would be. So this would be something worth pursuing a little bit further. But I think one thing that might be considered here just by looking at the data is that there is some evidence that agents do last longer than some of the stats that we see about 92% quitting in the first year, or whatever the stats are. So it looks like agents have a little bit more oomph in them than maybe we give them credit, which is good. So of course, the main purpose of this survey was to really gauge what the main reasons people quit selling insurance were, knowing that there's probably multiple reasons why. So this first pie graph you see in front of you is a collection of the main reasons. We're gonna, in a minute, look at the secondary reasons that contributed towards the agent's failure or quitting. So again, just to look at this a little bit closer here, I'll change my screen so you can see it a little bit better. The options here are in blue, the business of selling insurance wasn't a good fit. Red is the agency I worked for wasn't a good fit for me. Yellow, I ran out of money to invest in leads. Green, I ran out of prospects to sell to. And then purple are personal issues like health, divorce, etc. So interestingly enough, the biggest reason people quit this business is they picked the wrong agency. With 1 out of 3 saying, out of all of these options that were shown, that it was the agency in their selection that was a bad fit. So perhaps they picked the wrong agency. They thought their relationship and what they were going to experience was going to be something different. I think this is a really important point, which we'll, I think, build on a bit more later. Second reason was I ran out of money to invest in leads. So again, something else seriously to consider. Less important were things like this business just wasn't a good fit, which actually I think is, again, another interesting point we'll talk about. It's sad to hear that because a lot of these people quitting apparently like selling insurance on some level, but were forced out of it for things that maybe were out of their control or they weren't prepared for, which means there's still interest in a lot of these people who quit the business to find a better arrangement. And then personal issues like health or divorce taking maybe about 1 out of 6, 1 out of 7. So again, I wanted to ask what were multiple reasons why people quit. So I asked the same participants, what was the second reason that caused you to quit? Because usually it's not one big thing, it's a multitude of things that add up, death by 1,000 paper cuts, as the old Chinese proverb says. So the second reason, same questions, kind of split in a couple of different ways. So with number one reason, running out of money being the first selection as to why people quit. The second one being running out of prospects to sell. Third one being the agency just wasn't a good fit. And fourth option being, personal issues. It just didn't work out for him anymore for some reason. Then the fifth issue, again, the least biggest reason why, it just wasn't a good fit. So the next question I wanted to ask to get a better idea of what factors could have contributed to a better experience. So again, when we go out and recruit agents, I just think it's so important to make sure as an agency you develop a program that gives new agents the best chance that they can to be successful. And while there's no perfect program, nor can anybody guarantee your results, it's important to think through this as an agency to give your agents the best chance because they deserve it. They're committing their career to you, and in return, you should commit to them. So the question I asked was, looking back on your career selling insurance, what, if anything, could have helped you done better to help prevent you from quitting? So this was a question that we select all that apply. This wasn't some sort of, you could only select a few or one of the options. So it's just like select all the factors you think made a big difference. And for the number one reason I think people say they could have done better was a better or improvement in the actual leads that were used. But very close by were more money saved. So again, the money question comes up. Better agency selection, better sales training, and then last, maybe least, I was about to say not least, but I should have sold a different product. So some people, I figured asking that question, maybe they just thought they were in the wrong product line, and that caused them to quit. But that was the least reason why. So again, it kind of comes down to these core issues. So now that we've covered the survey questions, I'm actually going to take some time reviewing some of the comments that were left. Now, these are completely anonymous. Nobody knows who left these comments, so I can't source them for you because I didn't ask for any information. I wanted to keep it anonymous anyway. But I think reading these comments straight from the horse's mouth of agents, former agents, I think is extremely useful, and especially for those of you who are considering entering this business, hearing from people who quit it is going to give you a sober analysis of what it's really like. And as I go through these, I'm going to recollect some kind of major points that I want to hit on that I think have been shown through some of the survey results because there's some definitely important things to hit on. So I wanted more support to help me through the tough times. So again, tough times probably being the times when nobody wants to buy you, nobody's interested, you've ran 10 appointments and nobody's bought, and it's very mentally challenging. So, a big thing if you're a new agent and you're considering this business, it's so important to find an agency that will actually support and mentor you, that will have some kind of involvement with you, that will answer your phone calls, text messages, emails, etc. You'll see this a lot throughout the survey, but support is so important. It's not just enough to join an agency that has a hotshot producer, a lot of people making money. You likely will need some level of support, maybe a lot, maybe a little. But it's good to know that it's there if you need it. I failed to do my research before I got involved. This is a big one. So I would imagine, I don't want to put words in this person's mouth, but you know, a lot of agents get recruited into the insurance business because of somebody they meet. Maybe it's off of a job report or a job, ad on Craigslist or something. Or perhaps it's a friend in the business that kind of introduces you to it. And they don't do a lot of research. It just sounds good. It sounds appealing. It's kind of the right time, and they jump in. And before they know it, what was promised and what was shown is not like anything in the real world. So that's kind of why I'm doing this video, is to give you this ability to do due diligence, because there's just so many organizations out there that recruit like this. They don't really want you to know the whole truth, but if you don't ask, you ain't gonna know. And so due diligence is king. Slow down, find the agency that makes sense for you, that matches what you're looking for. If you're wondering what that is, if you look behind me, there's a green book, The Official Guide to Selling Insurance for New Agents. It's $3 on Kindle, $10 for paperback on Amazon. It will walk you through all of the landmines and obstacles to avoid, and it's well worth the investment. And yes, I did right. So again, the agency was misleading as far as training. I want and need good training. So again, training is important. If you feel that when you go in for an opportunity meeting or an interview that the group meeting talks more about drinking Kool-Aid, walking across hot coals, and flagging down anybody with a pulse to recruit to your downline to make passive income, buddy, you better watch out, because you're about to join an insurance MLM. And likely that kind of response comes from those agencies that focus more on the recruiting and less on the substantive training. So training is critical. Do your research and make sure your agency you're thinking about joining provides a training program that actually will help you become a top producer. Zero hand-holding, zero lead by example, zero leadership that way. It was 99% fluff motivation and bring your uncle down for a meeting. I had no idea the stagnant pool I was in surrounded with others in the same boat. Only one or two people in the whole room making sales. Most others not even licensed, just a cesspool of mediocrity, but so much fake pumping I couldn't tell. So yeah, again, another example. If you see that, if you hear that, be aware. Be very wary, actually. Again, don't feel like you got to jump in. Do your due diligence. A lot of reasons agents quit is because what they were shown isn't actually pan out in real life. And agencies have a tendency to pump up just the good with selling insurance, but none of the bad. And the truth is that the insurance business is an awesome business. It's awesome for the right person. It's certainly not right for everybody. But like anything in life, there's going to be good and there's going to be bad. I always felt as somebody like myself that runs an agency, that recruits agents nationally through YouTube and beyond, that it's really important to inform you of the good and the bad, to have a sober analysis. So like example, case in point on the screen here, agencies get you caught up with promises and you go into debt buying leads, and when chargebacks happen, you're not fully prepared, for you were not told by the company they will withhold till caught up, and you're still buying overpriced leads, and that was hold commissions most likely. Bad training ruins an agent's perception of sales. So that's how the business works. If you're looking to get in this business, if you sell a policy and the policy lapses, you owe back a portion of that commission that went unearned. That's what's called a chargeback. And again, I tell all my agents to expect this. This is part of the business, and I can explain that further in another email or another video. But the truth is, it's just part of the business. But a lot of people don't know that until they're like, why am I not getting paid? It's like, well, the policy lapsed, so we take your money. It's like, what? You want to know this before you get started, is the moral of the story. Old and dead-end leads. This is an important point, I think, that warrants a little bit more discussion. If you're into a marketing and sales system in insurance, you want to make sure that the leads you get are fresh and exclusive. This is a personal preference of mine. While you definitely can get sales from old leads, you can't get them when they're dead, of course. You're too late, right? But you ideally want to work fresh and exclusive leads. Basically what that means is that the leads come in, they're fresh, they're yours, okay? And they're never resold. They're exclusive. You're hitting people at the peak level of interest, whereas if you wait and you're in a position where you get them 6 months, 12 months later, they've likely sent off other cards, replied to other ads on Facebook, been solicited by a bunch of people, and can be less inclined to do business. Again, not impossible to sell them. But if that's all you work, you're leaving a lot of opportunity on the table. Personally, as an agent, and the way I train my agents that work with me, we go after fresh and exclusive leads because that just gives us the best odds of success. So keep that in mind. If you're looking at an agency that provides leads or sells you leads, Ask, are these leads fresh? Are these leads exclusive? If not, how much does it cost to get those leads? Because those really are the ideal ones to work. And kind of related to the last comment at the top, companies will not help you get prospects if you don't already have some or are really good at finding them. You're doomed. Yeah. So when you look at an agency and you want to prevent yourself from quitting, you've got to have some type of guidance in creating an interested pool of prospects, a pipeline as we call them. If your company doesn't teach you how to do it, or if you can't wrap your head how they do it or make sense for you, find another sales opportunity in the insurance business. You are not in the business of selling insurance unless you've got too many people to see. That's the ideal state. You want to get people to see and eventually have a lot of people to see. But the cornerstone to that is people to talk to. And without it, you don't have a business. So it's very important to cover and make sure when you look for an agency to work with, how are you going to get leads and prospects to talk to? So a couple of comments here, man, and this takes a lot of honesty to admit this is mindset related. So I'm going to read both of them and make a comment. I think this may be some of the most important elements covered here in the survey. I firmly believe it was a mindset of not believing that I could do this, even though I know people need life insurance. So before the agent in this case started, there was already this obstacle inside their own mind, that the belief that they could not do it. And I would question, how can you ever contend to be successful if you doubt yourself completely to this extent? The next one is even more telling. I did not understand that people who searched the internet were not yet committed to buy. I did not understand my responsibility to qualify a prospect before chasing them. I did not thoroughly understand my products and its limitations. I did not understand how emotionally dependent I am on being accepted. Selling is all about passing through rejection and to find a prospect who will talk to and to find someone who will buy from you. Sales is very hard work, perhaps the hardest form of work there is. I don't know much else I could add to this. I would suggest that this agent who placed this out there, that this level of brutal honesty means that you actually have a chance in this business because you know thyself. That's really the core of this. And I would plead with you to find a way to get back in. Because if you know your pre-existing limitations, then you have a chance to fight them. So again, money issues always a factor with a lot of agents quitting. My family needed money. The needs of the money were greater than the income I could produce, and my backup money was virtually nothing. I'd actually found a market or two that needed my know-how, but I hadn't the cash needed to keep her going. This is one of the saddest reasons agents quit, is just they cannot make it work financially because their model depends on purchasing leads. Certainly, I was in that position. I went through that when I failed out the first time. But that's the thing, and I think I'll speak on this now. Just the importance of being financially prepared to weather the storms. That is a big factor why people quit. They start to learn the business. It takes longer than they think it does, and they just run out of money. It's not the only reason why. There's certainly other reasons in that particular person that would say they ran out of money, I would argue, if we went deeper. But money is important, especially if you depend on a purchase lead system. You don't want to jump into this business with your last paycheck and no savings and no other way and think that you're going to make it. I mean, there's always Hail Marys at work, but the majority of them don't. I like to tell agents, think of ways to be creative. Save up your money, take your time if that's what it takes. Creatively finance your endeavors. Borrow money from your parents if you have to, if you can. Sell off your gun collection like someone I know did. Or like me, I had one last credit card and put $4,000 down, and that was it. And I was tapped out for tens of thousands of dollars. I'm not advising you to do that, but it's just what I decided to do. I figured, what the hell did I have to lose? This was my opportunity. So, yeah, you got to be creative, but the key is, keeping going sometimes and managing your budget, not spending too much money on frivolous stuff, especially in the early years as you develop your renewal stream. You got to eat, as Dave Ramsey says, rice and beans, beans and rice. He is right about that. I think especially getting started, the less you can spend, I think the better chance that you got. So I could go on and on and on with the comments that were listed, and actually I'm going to list the vast majority of them on the written version of this video that will document the same reasons why insurance agents fail. But I think we've kind of captured the essence, at least what I wanted to do in this video. So again, some of my thoughts to wrap this up and conclude. I think the biggest thing you need to do is do your due diligence. I preach on this a lot in my written and video material. If you're going to join an agency, you got to do your time to figure out if it's a good fit for you, because the consequences are disastrous. And if there's any evidence of that being the case, it's this survey and the accompanying written article that's going to go into detail about all of this stuff. You really have to make sure the agency you're going to join is a good fit for you. Now, I didn't say perfect fit. You're never going to find a perfect fit, but you need to find one that's close enough in your values that you can align with over a long period of time. Because if it doesn't fit, you're not going to do well. I even tell that to agents who find me on YouTube and decide that they want to work with me. I want them to know up front what they're going to expect from me, what I'm good at, what I'm not good at, exactly how a relationship's going to work. I want to know that up front, because I just don't want to waste time with agents who feel like I abused them because I didn't clarify my intention. So you want to find an agency that does that and takes the time to explain things to you, because to me, in my opinion, it saves a lot of drama, effort, and wasted time if you do this work up front. So do your due diligence. Find out what's going to work best for you. And I think the second thing here that's really important too, that kept coming up in some form or fashion, is you got to make sure you've got enough money to run your business. I would imagine this is probably an issue, not just in the insurance business, but all businesses, all entrepreneurs, is having cash flow to continue funding the operations of their business. For the insurance agent, really the biggest factor to that is leads, which is why we've seen a lot of people say that the leads kind of ran dry. So it's important to make sure you come into this business with enough money. How much money is enough? It just really depends on what your personal budget is, what the average lead cost is. I really think that in the business of insurance sales, you can do this for a month or two, and you really should be a multiple profitable by then. With most products, some less so than others by default because they're more renewal driven, say like Medicare. With a life insurance product, you should see 3-to-1, 4-to-1 return on your investment in the first month or two, and you should continuously sustain that. You'll have months where you're off, of course, and you'll have great months too. But if you're not seeing that out the gate, then it's likely this isn't a good fit for you. And you probably shouldn't throw good money after a bad concept. It doesn't make sense. Most agents who are successful, they come in with at least a month's worth to 2 months worth of leads at a minimum. And if they're going to have success, they're going to have it at that point. Because if they got enough money for a month or 2 months of full-time effort, the likelihood is high that if the opportunity is there, they're going to be profitable, and they're going to continue to be so as well. But don't fall for the trap like a lot of these big MLM insurance companies push. All you have to do, if you've got a couple $100, you can buy old leads from 2 years ago, and you're going to make it rain money. It's stupid. You really have to treat this seriously. And again, I'm not blaming you as much as the agency, because they say it's possible and they encourage you on that behalf and show you one guy out of 1,000 that made it so. But the truth is that you really need to look at this seriously, slow down, save up, have money set aside. And I'm telling you, just from personal experience too, having money in the bank makes life much easier as a salesperson and running an insurance business. So I hope you enjoyed this training. It was very illuminating even for myself. I learned a few things that I kind of took for granted, like a lot of agents last longer than we expect, and money is so important to have enough of it if you're in a purchase lead system, as well as making sure, as I've always said, you got to take your time picking the right agency. Again, there's a lot of agencies out there that promise you the world but offer actually nothing of substance. So do your due diligence. If you want a second opinion, you want to look at an agency that's honest, transparent, and straightforward, check me out. That's what I do for a living. My website is davidduford.com. I run Duford Insurance Group. I help insurance agents become top producers in final expense, Medicare Advantage, and annuities. And training, support, coaching, mentorship with quality marketing and sales systems is the cornerstone of what I do. So go to davidduford.com if you'd like to learn more. Feel free to leave a comment below. I'd like to hear your story as to why you quit the business, or why you're thinking you're going to quit, or what concerns you have if you're thinking about getting in the business, and I'll be more than happy to address them. In the meantime, y'all have a great day. Thanks for watching. See you.